All right, so here we go. Today, I want to talk to you guys about seller financing. It could be called owner carry. It could be called a land contract. A little more specifically, if there's a mortgage on the property, it could be called a wrap. All of it means this, is that the seller is the one financing the purchase of their home. There's a huge plus, could be for the buyers, and there could be a huge plus even for the sellers. And then I'm going to finish with some warnings that you guys should be aware of.
That isn't a plus.
Right now, yes, warnings are not a plus.
Sorry.
So right now, the Fed rate is high. The retail rate, which is what you guys see, is even higher. And I believe for a little while longer, it's going to continue to go up. And then it's probably going to sit for a while before we see anything drop. What that means is an opportunity for you as a buyer and a seller to be able to sell your home at maybe a better rate and sell your home faster. So let's talk about why it's a benefit to the buyer. To the buyer, you may be able to get a rate if the seller is willing to finance the loan of the home to you for your purchase lower than what you'd be able to get at a bank. Additionally, you may be able not to suffer the same qualification requirements, so it could be a huge benefit. The down payments are negotiable. Oftentimes with these types of scenarios, the terms will all be inside the purchase agreement, and they are also negotiable with the seller, okay? So it's good for the buyers. Look for it. This is a strange environment in that we're gonna see it. We haven't seen it in a while. Now, sellers, this is why we're seeing owner financing. You guys have the opportunity to actually carry the loan on behalf of the buyer, which is good for you because, look, it's called seller friendly because if the buyer defaults on the loan, you might be able to get the property back. Additionally, you're gonna make a few points on the lending of the money, just like the lender does. That's good. Let's follow up with some warnings. So here's the deal. Buyers, understand is that the seller, unless the seller owns the home outright, may have a mortgage on the home. If they do have a mortgage on the home, then they're doing what's called a wrap. If the terms of the purchase agreement have you sending the money directly to the seller and the seller stops paying the current mortgage on the property, the current lien holder, the bank or whoever the lender may be that owns the lien on the home, can foreclose and you have no recourse. It's just over for you. So beware. If you're going to purchase under this scenario, you need to make sure that you're sending your money to a trust company or an escrow company that's sending then the money directly to whoever the lien holder is currently to make sure the payments are current. Now, there's one other warning I'm going to give both the seller and the buyer is this, you guys. There's always something in every mortgage, if there's a mortgage current on the property, called the acceleration clause. In the past, the lenders have been willing to turn a blind eye to it. They haven't okayed it. They're not down with it. They're not. They want you to pay the mortgage as agreed to, and as agreed to means that as the person borrowing the money from the bank to buy the property in the first place, you are not going to sell the rights to the property to anyone else. Well, if you're going to wrap it or you're going to do some type of seller financing as a seller to a new buyer, you are selling the rights to the new buyer. And if the bank catches wind of that in today's electronic day and age, it's much, much easier for them to do that. And considering inventory is scarce, they may not be okay with that. There's another economic reason. The banks are carrying a lot of paper at 2.5%, under 3%. They'd prefer to have that paper at prevailing rates because it's easier for them to sell in the background. We won't get too far into that hole, but the bottom line is the banks are more motivated to call the note or accelerate the note. And if you're not familiar with what the acceleration clause is and you have a loan out, I strongly suggest you go into that paperwork that you ignored when you signed all of it and read the acceleration clause. But other than that, we're going to see a lot more of it. Be aware of what it is and know that it's an opportunity maybe to get into a home without paying rates that are incredibly high.
And keep this in mind. So you're going to look at the mortgage. The mortgage is actually going to be what's going to tell you what the acceleration rate is. That's going to, or not the acceleration rate, but what that is if you were to do a wrap. It'll say that in the mortgage. So pull your mortgage document. You should be able to see it in that. Second, the reason that we're going to start seeing seller financing more is because rates are so much higher and the people who have homes now, they're at a lower rate. So therefore they could double that rate, which is still lower than the rate we have now. So
yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly right. In a nutshell, as a seller, if I have a loan at 4% and the prevailing rates are at 8%, I can sell my home and carry the note at 6% and make 2 points on top of my loan that I currently have in addition to make the payments. So there's a lot of math that makes it a benefit. It's a win-win. It's
For
not
both parties, really.
Yeah, for both parties, really. The buyer gets a
Except
much
for
better
me,
rate.
the lender.
Well, yeah, we're not talking about a traditional lender here,
Yeah.
so Staci's kind of cut out of the picture. But anyway, it's an option. It's a good option. It's something to understand what you're seeing when you see it, and that's it.
So stay tuned for the next video because I'm going to go over as a lender of what options you have for financing. Stay tuned.
All right.